The GTX 980 was released 4 years ago, which is like 28 computer years, so let's see if it can still run the latest games with max settings like it did in its prime. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. Today we're going to be testing out the 4-year-old GTX 980 and see how it's doing here in 2018. If you want to see more benchmarking videos or PC gaming videos, then hit that subscribe button down below and also that notification bell. That way you never miss an episode. But yeah, let's give a quick intro to this card, not a long one, and then we'll benchmark 10 games. This specific graphics card we're looking at today is the MSI GeForce GTX 980 4G, and it's rocking a 1117 MHz boost clock, 4GB of GDDR5, 2048 CUDA cores, and a minimum power supply rating of 500 watts. The test bench that we're using today is the normal one, which I'm sure you've seen before if you've watched my other benchmarking videos, and it's rocking an i7-4790K which boosts up to 4.4 GHz, 16GB of RAM, an MSI Gaming 5 motherboard, and the games are installed on a Western Digital Caviar hard drive. For today's testing, I'm going to keep the resolution at 1080p and only use max settings. Obviously, if your FPS goals are higher, you can certainly crank down the graphics, and I really don't recommend only gaming at max settings, but for the purpose of this video, we're cranking them up to the max. First up was CSGO, and with max settings in 1080p, we averaged 240 FPS, which is obviously plenty. Plus, most people aren't actually playing this game with max settings because, as you can see, our 0.1% lows did hit 52. Next up was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is much tougher to run, and with max settings, we only averaged 77 FPS. This is obviously fine if you have a 60Hz monitor, but if you want to reach those higher frames per second numbers, you won't want to be gaming at max settings. Fortnite absolutely has to come after PUBG, and here we averaged an impressive 99 FPS, which is much more impressive than this kill I just got here. The brand new Warhammer Vermintide 2, which I'm actually having a lot of fun with, was up next, and with max settings we only hit 67. I have a full dedicated video benchmarking this game, by the way, if you're interested. Moving on to Doom, we managed to get up to a 129 FPS average, but there were definitely some spikes down to some pretty low numbers, as you can see, with the 0.1% average being 15. Last year's racing simulator Project Cars 2 was up next, and here we averaged 101 frames per second on max settings. I then decided to test out The Witcher 3. It's an older title, but obviously it's still a tough one to run, and with 1080p max settings, I could only crank out 56 FPS. Moving on to a really tough game to run was Assassin's Creed Origins, and with the in-game benchmark, I could only hit 52 FPS with max settings, and then we even had some major hiccups along the way, as you can see. Far Cry 5 was up next, which I also just released a benchmarking video with budget graphics cards, by the way, and with the in-game benchmark, we averaged a very smooth 71 FPS with some tight timings. And finally, to wrap these up, the last game was my personal favorite on the list, Destiny 2, and here I averaged around 90 to 100 FPS. Destiny 2 is incredibly tough to benchmark because we can't use overlays, but with my eyeballs and the max settings, these are the results that I got. And finally, before ending this video, I do want to let you guys know that this card is currently selling for about an average price of $250 USD on eBay, and sometimes even lower. With these crazy graphics card prices that we are seeing, this actually might be a solid option for those used builds. As long as you have a beefy enough power supply, I would definitely consider the 980 if you find a good deal. Well, that wraps up my review of the GTX 980 here in 2018. This card is still destroying most games in 1080p, and for other games, you can certainly crank up the resolution to 1440p or even 1080p with those higher refresh rate monitors. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like down below to help support my channel. Also down there is a link to zachstechturf.com so you can really support the channel and buy baller t-shirts like this. And as always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more Zach's Tech Turf videos.